The moment Dante Falconeri walked into that exam room, blood dripping slowly from his hand, something felt off. Not because of the injury, but because the real wound wasn't the dog bite. It was Lulu. And the growing feeling that he might have just lost her forever. Across Port Charles, secrets were piling up fast. A mysterious red flag about Nathan West. A medical scare that forced Molly Lansing Davis to confront painful choices. And a dangerous attraction brewing between Sonny Corinthos and Ada Justine Turner that could explode at any moment. But the most troubling question of all, is Nathan really who everyone thinks he is? Because what happened at the batting cages might have just exposed the first crack in a carefully built lie. And if that lie collapses, it could destroy Lulu's heart all over again. Earlier that afternoon at Charlie's pub, a frightening moment left everyone shaken. Molly Lansing Davis suddenly collapsed. 1 second she was standing. The next the room spun, her knees buckled and everything went dark. When Molly slowly opened her eyes again, the first face she saw was Cody Bell hovering over her with deep concern. "Molly, can you hear me?" Cody's voice carried real panic. But Molly quickly tried to brush the whole thing off. She insisted she was fine. According to Molly, this fainting spell wasn't anything new, it was tied to something she had been battling for a long time. Endometriosis. It was a painful condition she had struggled with for years. And today it had finally caught up with her again. But Cody wasn't convinced. He could see the exhaustion in her face, the way her hand trembled slightly as she tried to sit up. To Cody, this didn't look like something Molly should simply ignore. He insisted she go to General Hospital immediately. At first Molly resisted. She didn't want another round of tests, another discussion about treatments, another reminder that her health wasn't something she could fully control. But Cody refused to back down. Eventually Molly agreed. And that decision might end up changing everything. Not long after arriving at General Hospital, Molly found herself sitting in an exam room across from Dr. Frida Navarro. The doctor ran several tests. Blood pressure, basic scans, a careful medical evaluation. When the results came back, Dr. Navarro spoke calmly, but there was no sugarcoating the reality. It might be time to reconsider more serious treatment options, including surgery. The word hung heavily in the air. Surgery. For Molly, that word carried years of fear and frustration. She had always hoped to manage the condition without going that far. But now the possibility was staring her in the face again. Still, Molly wasn't ready to make that decision today. She told Dr. Navarro she needed time. Time to think. Time to breathe. And most importantly, time to prepare herself for what the future might hold. For now, she promised to schedule a follow-up appointment. But even as Molly walked out of that exam room, the reality lingered. Her battle wasn't over. Not even close. Later, Cody tracked down Felicia Scorpio, hoping to learn more about what Molly might be going through. Felicia had seen many cases like this over the years. And she didn't hide the truth. Endometriosis could be incredibly complicated, painful, unpredictable. Sometimes surgery became the only real solution. Cody listened carefully, clearly worried. He cared about Molly. More than he probably realized. When Molly finally returned to meet him, Cody offered something simple. Support. He told her he wanted to help, however she needed. But Molly gave him a soft smile and shook her head. Right now she just wanted to go home. She needed quiet. She needed peace. And maybe, just maybe, she needed a moment to process everything that had just happened. Across the hospital, another unexpected situation was unfolding. Elizabeth Baldwin had just finished taking a phone call from Rick Lansing. Rick sounded hopeful. He wanted to schedule another date. And Elizabeth, well, she didn't exactly say no. But before she could think about that too much, something caught her attention down the hall. Dante Falconeri was sitting in an exam room, holding his injured hand. There was blood, and the wound looked painful. Liz rushed in immediately. What happened? Dante let out a tired breath before explaining. He had been taking Sonny Corinthos' tiny dog Fizz out for a walk. Normally it was an easy job. But today something went wrong. Another dog, much bigger and far more aggressive, suddenly appeared. A fight broke out between the two animals. Dante tried to separate them. And in the chaos, he got bitten. Liz carefully began cleaning the wound. But as she worked, she noticed something else. Dante looked distracted. His mind clearly wasn't focused on the injury. Finally, Liz asked the question, "What's really going on?" Dante hesitated. Then the truth came out. It wasn't about the dog. It was about Lulu. More specifically, Lulu and Nathan. Dante admitted that seeing Lulu move forward with Nathan had stirred up feelings he thought were long gone. For a moment, he wondered if he had just lost his final chance with her. If maybe he waited too long. If maybe Lulu had already moved on for good. Liz listened quietly. She understood heartbreak. She understood regret. But Dante surprised her with what he said next. Despite everything he felt, he wasn't going to interfere. Lulu deserved happiness. If Nathan made her happy, Dante wouldn't stand in the way. He would step back. He would let her live her life. And then Dante offered Liz a piece of advice she didn't expect. If she was thinking about restarting things with Rick Lansing, she needed to be careful. Very careful. Because sometimes revisiting the past only led to more pain. Meanwhile, somewhere else in Port Charles, another complicated situation was beginning to unfold. At Lulu Spencer's apartment, the door suddenly opened. And standing there was Tracy Quartermain. Tracy didn't waste time with pleasantries. She came with a purpose. She needed information. Specifically, she needed dirt on Gent Sidwell. Sidwell had become a serious problem for deception. And Tracy wanted leverage. Something she could use to push him out of the company. But Lulu immediately raised a concern. Maxie Jones. Maxie already wasn't thrilled about Lulu being involved in deception. In fact, Maxie barely wanted Lulu near the company at all. And after Lulu's recent romantic connection with Nathan's, things had only gotten more complicated. Lulu explained the situation. Maxie was furious. She didn't trust the relationship. And she certainly didn't want Lulu stirring up more drama. But Tracy wasn't interested in Maxie's opinion. She leaned forward with a sharp look and gave Lulu advice that only Tracy Quartermain could deliver. Stop living for everyone else. Tracy told her she needed to start making decisions for herself. Not for Maxie. Not for anyone else. If Lulu wanted to pursue something with Nathan, she should do it. No apologies. No hesitation. Because life was too short to constantly ask for permission. And for the first time in a long time, Lulu looked like she was seriously considering that advice. But what Lulu didn't know was that the man she was beginning to trust might be hiding a secret that could change everything. And that secret was about to reveal its first clue. Nathan West thought he had everything under control. Lulu trusted him. James adored him. And the people of Port Charles believed they knew exactly who he was. But one simple moment, one swing of a baseball bat, may have just revealed the first crack in his story. Because if Nathan really was the man he claims to be, then what happened next should never have happened. That afternoon, Nathan had taken James West out for a father and son outing. The batting cages. To James, it was the perfect place to spend time together. The mechanical pitching machine hummed steadily as baseballs fired one after another across the cage. James stood there smiling, clearly enjoying every second. But something about Nathan seemed distracted. And soon the conversation took an unexpected turn. James looked up at him with surprising maturity. He told Nathan something that clearly weighed on his young mind. His parents weren't going to get married again. Maxie and Nathan's relationship was over. For good. But James wasn't angry. In fact, he seemed oddly at peace with it. He explained that Maxie being with Damian Spinelli didn't bother him. Spinelli had always been part of his life. He was funny. He was kind. And James had known him for as long as he could remember. So in James' mind, everything was going to be okay. But then he looked back at Nathan with concern. What about you? James didn't want his dad to be lonely. He even suggested finding Nathan a girlfriend. Maybe one of the moms from school. Nathan laughed softly at the idea. The thought of James trying to play matchmaker amused him. But he assured his son there was no need to worry. Everything was fine. Or at least that's what Nathan wanted everyone to believe. A few minutes later, Kai Taylor arrived. Kai was there to give James a proper batting lesson. The kid had talent and Kai had agreed to help him sharpen it. But James had another idea. He turned toward Nathan with excitement. Dad, you should show him how it's done. Nathan immediately hesitated. He tried to laugh it off. But James wouldn't drop it. The young boy had heard stories. Stories about how Nathan used to be a powerful hitter during his time at the PCPD. According to those stories, Nathan could crush a baseball. So naturally, James wanted to see it. Over and over, Nathan tried to avoid the moment. He made excuses. He changed the subject. But James kept insisting. Finally, Nathan had no choice. He stepped into the batting cage. The machine fired a fast pitch. Nathan swung. And completely missed. Not even close. The bat cut through empty air. The sound echoed awkwardly through the cage. James blinked. Kai raised an eyebrow. And for a split second, Nathan looked genuinely shaken. Because that miss wasn't just a simple mistake. For someone with the baseball history Nathan supposedly had, that swing should have been effortless. Natural. Instinctive. But instead, Nathan looked like someone who had never done it before. The moment passed quickly. Nathan laughed it off. But the damage might already be done. Because sometimes the smallest detail is the one that exposes the biggest secret. Later that day, Nathan's phone rang. It was Lulu. Her voice immediately softened his expression. She told him she wanted to see him. Soon. Nathan agreed. Of course he did. But as he ended the call, the same question lingered in the air. Is Nathan truly the man Lulu believes he is? Or is Port Charles about to uncover something far more complicated? Meanwhile, somewhere else in town, another story was unfolding. Emma Scorpio Drake sat on a couch staring down at a guitar. And she looked completely defeated. Emma had signed up for an elective music class. At the time, it seemed like a fun idea. But then she had to travel out of town. She missed several classes. And now she was hopelessly behind. Every chord felt wrong. Every attempt sounded worse than the last. Emma sighed in frustration. I'm going to fail. That's when Giovanni Gio Palmieri stepped in. Gio had noticed her struggling. And unlike Emma, he seemed completely comfortable with the instrument. He offered to help. At first Emma was hesitant. But soon Gio began guiding her. Showing her finger placement. Helping her understand the rhythm. Slowly Emma began to relax. The music started sounding better. Not perfect, but better. And something else began to happen. Their hands brushed. Their eyes met. The energy in the room shifted. What started as a guitar lesson suddenly felt different. The tension between them grew stronger with every passing moment. Until finally, neither of them resisted anymore. They leaned closer. The guitar slid to the side. And on that sofa, Emma and Gio shared a passionate kiss. It was unexpected, intense, and maybe even a little dangerous. Because sometimes in Port Charles, romance has a way of leading straight into chaos. Across town at Bobby, another tense conversation was already underway. Alexis Davis had just received shocking news. Sonny Corinthos was meeting with Rick Lansing. And the reason was serious. Rick was preparing to handle Sonny's criminal defense. Diane Miller would still handle other legal matters. But Rick would be responsible for Sonny's most dangerous legal battles. When Alexis heard this, she was stunned. Of all people, Sonny was trusting Rick. The history between them was complicated. And Alexis knew exactly how risky this arrangement could be. When Sunny arrived, Alexis didn't hold back. She warned him directly. Working with Rick meant one thing. Sunny would always have to wonder if Rick might betray him, double-cross him, or use their professional relationship against him. But Rick calmly responded. He told Sunny he had no intention of doing that. He wanted to rebuild trust, and he was willing to take the time necessary to prove it. Sunny studied him carefully, then finally nodded. For now he believed Rick was being honest. The brothers were cautiously moving forward. But their fragile agreement might not survive what happens next. Because someone else had just entered the restaurant. Ada Justine Turner. The same woman Sunny had shared a dangerous night with not long ago. Justine greeted Sunny briefly. Professional, polite, but distant. She had a meeting scheduled with Alexis. A discussion about a plea deal for one of Alexis' clients. And when the two women sat down together, Alexis braced for a difficult negotiation. But something surprising happened. Justine was lenient. Much more lenient than Alexis expected. The plea deal terms were surprisingly fair. Maybe even generous. Alexis noticed the shift immediately. And Justine quietly explained why. She remembered the risks she had taken the night she spent with Sunny. The professional boundaries she crossed. The mistakes she made. And that experience reminded her of something important. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone deserves some understanding. But across the room, Sunny was watching. And his thoughts drifted back to that same night. The attraction. The tension. The moment where everything nearly spiraled out of control. Sunny turned to Rick and said something quietly. He needed to keep his distance from Justine. It was safer that way. But the look in Sunny's eyes suggested something else entirely. Because sometimes, the harder you try to stay away from someone, the stronger the pull becomes. And in Port Charles, temptation rarely stays buried for long. According to General Hospital spoilers, this story is far from over. Nathan's suspicious behavior could soon expose a secret that shakes Lulu's world. Emma and Gio's passionate moment could lead to unexpected consequences. Sunny and Justine's dangerous attraction may grow impossible to ignore. And Molly's medical struggle could force her into a life-changing decision. Every one of these stories is only just beginning. And the next chapter could change everything. Before we wrap up, here's something to think about. Do you trust Nathan? After that strange moment at the batting cages, something clearly didn't add up. Is he hiding something from Lulu? Or was it just an innocent mistake? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoy daily General Hospital updates, spoilers, and dramatic recaps like this one, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you never miss what's coming next in Port Charles. Because if today's episode proved anything, it's that secrets never stay buried forever. And when the truth finally comes out, the fallout will be unforgettable.